The captain was piloting the plane when he suddenly encountered a terrifying situation.
Birds.
The sudden impact of a flock of birds caused both engines to instantly catch fire and fail, but the cockpit was unaware of the external situation, only sensing a sharp loss of thrust. At that moment, the captain made a decisive decision and pressed the engine restart switch. However, the engine showed no response. Shortly after, a power failure occurred inside the cabin. All passengers were instantly plunged into darkness. The captain immediately realized the problem and activated the auxiliary power unit, restoring power to the cabin. The flight attendants, meanwhile, calmed the passengers and reminded them to fasten their seatbelts. Initially, everyone thought it was just simple turbulence. Little did they know, the cockpit was racing against time to save the plane. The co-pilot retrieved the quick reference handbook. The captain contacted the control tower for help, requesting permission to land at a nearby airport. The control tower immediately ordered all runways cleared, ready to receive Flight 1549's return. But the window of opportunity was fleeting. After just these few dozen seconds of communication delay, the plane's altitude had dropped critically low. Captain Sully, with his extensive experience, determined that turning the plane around for return was no longer possible. The only chance for survival was an emergency landing on the nearby river.
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
What?
Brace! 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 Heads down! Stay down! Brace! Brace!
Subsequently, the radar signal for Flight 1549 disappeared from the screens. The ground crew fell into utter despair. Tears in their eyes seemed like a lament. The survival rate for a water landing was a mere negligible 1%. But on Captain Sully's face, there was no trace of panic, only the calm born from 42 years of experience. Behind him were the lives of 155 people. Some were already writing their last words. Others were saying final goodbyes to loved ones. The flight attendants kept repeating the instructions to cover their heads and bend over. By now, the plane was less than 50 meters from the water. Sully adjusted to the final landing attitude. Whether they would survive this calamity was now in the hands of fate. Thanks to the captain's control of the landing angle, the plane smoothly ditched on the Hudson River, a feat hailed as an unprecedented miracle. The passengers began looking around, their hearts filled with the shock of a narrow escape. However, the crisis wasn't completely over. Icy river water immediately began pouring into the cabin. Sully urged everyone to unfasten their seatbelts, put on life vests, and then opened the emergency exit. The passengers evacuated in an orderly manner to the outside, standing on the wings awaiting rescue. Soon, water rescue agencies began arriving at the scene one after another. After repeatedly confirming no one remained inside the cabin, Sully took the accident records and evacuated last along with the other crew members. The rescued passengers ashore showed no complaints or emotional outbursts, only the joy of having survived a great disaster. But Captain Sully couldn't bring himself to smile. Not seeing the list of survivors, he couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. But the scene was chaotic, making a headcount impossible. Sully had to accept the suggestion to go to the hospital for a checkup first. Just then, the union chairman brought good news. All 155 people had survived. This was the first successful water ditching in U.S. aviation history. Sully had made history and became a hero chased by the media. For a time, he was celebrated by the American public, but not everyone saw it that way. The National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, invited him to a hearing. Sully initially thought it was just a formality, but it turned into a court judging his actions. The NTSB formed an investigation team and approached the water landing with a presumption of fault. According to engineers' data simulations, the plane supposedly had enough power to return to the airport. Why take the risk of ditching?
I had to rely on my experience of managing the altitude and speed of thousands of flights over 4 decades.
You're saying you didn't do any...
I eyeballed it.
You eyeballed it.
These officials, sitting in their offices, dismissed Captain Sully's experienced judgment. They trusted only the data from computer simulations and even questioned his mental state that day.
How much sleep did you get the night before? 8 hours. Enough.
When was your last drink, Captain Sullenberger?
9 days ago.
Drugs?
No, never.
Before the next hearing, they recorded all parameters matching the real event, including dual engine failure, altitude, etc., and conducted a real-time simulation on a computer to verify that the water landing was a wrong decision. Sully wanted to observe their simulation process, but was refused on grounds of data confidentiality during the investigation. He was the hero who saved 155 families, yet these so-called experts confronted him antagonistically. The co-pilot found it utterly absurd. Fortunately, public opinion was entirely on Sully's side. At the hearing, he became the target of criticism. In the media's eyes. He was the heroic captain who performed a miracle. Even his family, far away in San Francisco, were sought after by reporters for interviews. But Sully couldn't go home to reunite yet. He was temporarily housed in a New York hotel, to be available for summons at any time. During this period, he was invited to a talk show. Sully briefly became a household name, but some wanted to drag him down. Insurance companies faced massive payouts. The airlines suffered public scrutiny. NTSB officials might be held accountable. However, if the primary responsibility for the accident could be attributed to Sully's operational error, they could achieve a degree of exemption. At the second hearing, they presented the results of the computer flight simulation. Under identical conditions, the data showed the plane was fully capable of returning, with 20 out of 20 simulation attempts successful. Hearing this, Sully lowered his head. Had he truly misjudged the situation, to chosen a dangerous path? Furthermore, the aircraft's data system indicated that after the bird strike, the left engine was still running and had sufficient thrust. Therefore, Sully's claim of dual engine failure was incorrect. These successive pieces of authoritative data plunged Sully into doubt. For some reason, this contradicted his memory of the event. Compared to subjective impressions, people often prefer rigorous objective data. As time passed since the incident, the intense memories began to blur in his mind. His once firmly believed actions and judgments, under immense pressure, turned into puzzles of self-doubt. The resulting anxiety caused him to wake from nightmares every night. In his dreams, he piloted Flight 1549. After the bird strike, he attempted to return, but due to the low altitude, the plane crashed straight into downtown New York during a left turn, causing a disaster with hundreds of casualties. If the water landing was proven to be a wrong decision, he would be deemed a culprit who endangered the passengers. The very media that had heavily praised him as a hero might be the first to turn against him. Even worse, if the responsibility fell on him, his 42-year career as a captain would end immediately, facing forced retirement, no pension, no compensation, unable to pay the high property taxes, unable to afford his daughter's expensive tuition. His current comfortable life would vanish. His family would face homelessness with him. The accumulation of daily anxiety often caused him to hallucinate plane crashes. He tried jogging to relieve the pressure, as all existing evidence seemed against him. He went to a bar to calm his mind, but was recognized by the owner as soon as he sat down. The owner praised Sully's heroic deed that day, and even named a new drink after him. Other patrons raised their glasses to him. Yet, it was from the recurring reports on the TV that he found the key to break the deadlock time. Computer simulations, written in code, could react immediately after the incident. But a real person couldn't act that fast, so he called the union chairman, hoping he would demand the NTSB replace the computer simulation with a human pilot. If the results still showed a successful return, he would voluntarily surrender his wings. Back at the hotel, he put on his pilot uniform. He took out a note from his wallet that had accompanied him throughout his career. It read, "Delay is preferable to error." Guided by this motto, he had transported over 1 million passengers in 42 years, without a single mishap. But now, because of a mere 208 seconds, he was questioned by those experts. Before the final hearing began, Sully received a call from his wife. It turned out that only this morning did she realize Sully was also one of the surviving 155. She had almost lost her husband forever. In the face of life and death, life's difficulties seemed insignificant. She told Sully that regardless of the outcome, she was willing to face it with him. His wife's love, the affirmation from strangers, converged at that moment into a surge of courage, supporting him to face the final challenge. In that moment, Sully regained his confidence. He sat calmly in his seat at the hearing. The union chairman was highly effective, successfully demanding the replacement of computer simulation with human pilots, and, for the first time, making the entire process public. All parameters were recorded by the compute, and technically replicated one to match the day of the incident. The simulation began. Bird strike, dual engine failure, auxiliary power unit activated, then contact with the tower to prepare for return to LaGuardia Airport. A series of smooth operations, almost without any delay, finally resulted in a safe landing on the runway. Both return options resulted in safe landings, just as everyone thought. Captain Sully would be left speechless. He directly pointed out that the simulation neglected the human factor. Even the most experienced pilot needs time to react to a sudden emergency. The two pilots in the simulation acted like machines. After the bird strike, they didn't troubleshoot, showed not a moment of hesitation, directly chose to return to the airport, and even knew the turn direction and heading in advance, as if entering the exam with the answers. Sully then raised another question. He wanted to know exactly how many practice attempts the pilots had made in order to achieve such a perfect performance now.
17.
The venue erupted in murmurs. It turned out, even though those two pilots knew the problem and answer in advance, they still needed 17 attempts to produce a perfect score. But reality doesn't give you second chances. Thus, Sully secured 35 seconds of human reaction and decision-making time. The simulation started again. Bird strike encountered. Timer set for 35 seconds with no action taken. Then begin the left turn for return. Yet, under everyone's watch, this time the plane triggered a too low altitude alert. The plane ultimately crashed directly into structures near the airport. This 35-second human delay delay, like a precise key, instantly unlocked the blind spot of technical rationality. Next, the simulation for the second return option began, landing at another nearby airport. All parameters remained the same, still adding the 35-second reaction time. But the result was even worse. The plane crashed into a densely populated area, with casualties too dreadful to contemplate. The large hearing room fell completely silent. Everyone realized that the conditions at the time did not allow for a safe return. Captain Sully's choice of a water landing was the most correct course of action, and also the one with the highest chance of survival. Stepping outside to await the final verdict, at this moment, regardless of the outcome, both he and the co-pilot had a clear conscience. After a brief discussion, all departments unanimously concluded that Captain Sully was a hero who turned the tide, not a culprit who endangered the passengers. The NTSB members ceased their aggressiveness and offered their most sincere recognition to the captain and co-pilot for their composure under pressure. Sully believed the credit did not belong to him alone, as success depended on everyone's efforts: the crew members who remained at their posts, all the passengers who cooperated fully, the control tower that assisted in contacting the ground rescue department, the rescue teams that arrived at the scene immediately. They were all creators of this miracle. Their contributions behind the scenes should not be overlooked.